So today let us discuss about one more important concept in our environment chapter. Okay, that is about the food web. In the last video I have discussed about the food chain, wherein we have seen that food chain is actually interdependence among the organisms for the sake of food. Then what is this food web? Food web is made up of all food chains, interlinking of the food chains. It is interlinking of the food chains through a common food source, That is what is called food web. So to understand food web properly, you can see an example which will clearly reflect what is this food web. So you can see grass, is eaten by deer and it is eaten by lion. In the same way, grass is eaten by sheep, it is eaten by tiger, and grass is eaten by rabbit, it is eaten by wolf. Grass is eaten by cow and it is eaten by leopard. So it may not be exactly grass there, it can be any plants, as such. But just to make you understand, I have written it as grass. Any plant variety, you can just write there. Plants, you can write. Okay, so here what we can see in this example is all these food chains, these are all the individual food chains, they are all getting linked through the common food source, which is grass there. So this type of linkage between the food chains through a common food source is what is called as the food web. It is called the food web, which is an important part of our ecosystem. Okay, so next, moving on to the next very important concept, that is the ecological or the Eltonian pyramids. So Charles Elton in the year 1927, he proposed a pyramid-like structures to represent the different trophic levels in the food chain. So what are these ecological pyramids? These are the graphical representation. These are the graphical representation of what? Of various trophic levels in the food chain. We know, when you write any food chain, each level is called the trophic level. Each energy level in the food chain is called trophic level. So from grass to deer, it is one trophic level. Deer to lion, it is another trophic level. So what is Eltonian pyramid? What it is representing? It is the graphical representation, that is in the form of a graph, like in the form of a diagram. You are representing the different trophic levels that are present in the food chain. So what it is showing? It shows the quantity of organisms, biomass or energy. So there are different pyramids, actually 3 different pyramids, each for the number of organisms and also for the biomass and also for the energy that flows in the food chain. You can depict in these pyramids. So what it will be showing? It shows the quantity of organisms, biomass or energy that is present at each trophic level in the food chain. Then the most important part, it will show the flow of energy in the food chain, and the flow of energy in the food chain is always unidirectional. So that you have to remember, because in the exams there can be a bit that can be asked about the flow of energy in the food chain, which is always unidirectional. Then let us see about what are all these types of pyramids and how they can be represented. So we have how many types? 3 types of pyramids given by Charles Elton. So you have the pyramid of numbers. What is this pyramid of numbers? It will show the number of organisms at each trophic level in the food chain. Number of organisms at each trophic level in the food chain. So let us understand this through a simple example. Grass is eaten by deer and deer is eaten by the lion, is a simple food chain. So if I have to represent this food chain in the form of a pyramid, always pyramid structure will be like this, something like that, triangle like structure. So here if you see, among the different organisms in the food chain, grass or the plants are the one which will be present in large numbers on the earth. So I will be representing that at the base of the pyramid. The broad base it will have. So broad base indicates that the number is more. So whatever the number is more, I will be representing near the base part. So here, because grass or the plants are more in number, so I will be representing grass at the base level, followed by deer. The next trophic level is organized by the consumers. So the primary consumers, which will be depending upon the grass, whose number will be comparatively less than the plant variety. So I'll represent that in the next trophic level. And next will be the the secondary consumer, which will be the carnivores mostly, which will depend upon herbivores, the number of which will be comparatively less when you compare with the herbivores. So depending upon whatever are the numbers that are present, more number one will be represented at the base, followed by the less number organisms, followed by still less number of organisms. So like this, you can represent the number of organisms that are present in the food chain in the form of an upright pyramid. So these pyramid of numbers can be upright or it can also be inverted. It can also be inverted. So what is the example of inverted pyramid of numbers is, consider this example. One tree is there, one tree. The tree is only one tree we are considering, on which many insects are there, and also numerous birds are there feeding on those insects. Okay, so if you have to represent such type of an example of this particular food chain in the pyramid, you will have an inverted structure like this, because tree is only one, and always you remember that whenever you are representing the organisms in the pyramids, the producer should be down. So here the producer, that is the tree, okay, is less in number. So you have to represent the pyramid in the inverted form, wherein one tree followed by few insects and numerous birds will be something like that. So then we will get the inverted pyramid in such cases when you consider just one tree in your food chain. Okay, so next proceeding to the second one, pyramid of biomass. So pyramid of biomass represents the total dry mass that is present at each trophic level. Dry mass in the sense dry organic mass. You can just, for our understanding, we can just say that it is the weight, you can say, okay, the weight of organisms at each trophic level. So consider the example here. So usually this pyramid of biomass will be upright when you talk about the terrestrial ecosystem. When you talk about the aquatic ecosystem, that is the organisms that are present in the pond or the sea, it will be inverted. Okay, so you have to remember. Next, talking about the pyramid of biomass, it is upright in the terrestrial ecosystem. As you can see, grass, okay, will be having more weight. That is, when you take the plants on the earth, they have more biomass compared to the next group of organisms, that is the primary consumers or the herbivores, which is deer here. Okay, they will be having less organic mass compared to the total organic mass contributed by the plants. Followed by this, we have the lion. So like this, you have the upright pyramid. The inverted pyramid example here. Okay, so inverted pyramid we will find in the case of the aquatic conditions or the aquatic ecosystem, that is pond or sea, wherein we have what are called phytoplanktons, which are the producers. So they will be actually having a very less biomass compared to the next category, that is the zooplanktons, followed by which will be fish, which will be having a larger biomass compared to the other categories of organisms. That's why we will draw this pyramid as an inverted pyramid. So this is how the pyramid becomes inverted, and the producers, which are the phytoplanktons in aquatic ecosystem, okay, will be placed at the apex like this in the inverted structure of the pyramid. Okay, so always whenever you draw the pyramid, you have to represent your producers down. So that's why the pyramid becomes inverted here. Then next, talking about the pyramid of energy. Pyramid of energy, you have to remember that it is always an upright pyramid compared to the other two categories of pyramids. So here, okay, so it is always upright and it shows the energy at each trophic level per unit time. Okay, it is always upright. Okay, so our example, the standard example, grass, deer and lion. So grass is eaten by deer, eaten by lion, and the energy flow, as I have already discussed in my previous video about the 10% law of energy, wherein we have discussed about the energy gradually decreases as you move up the trophic levels. Okay, so actually grass receives lot of energy from the sun, and the amount of energy that is present in the grass will not be totally transferred to the deer. If you remember the 10% law, only 10% is restored in the deer and 90% of the energy will be lost. Again, the same thing happens when you see the transmission of energy from deer to lion. The amount of energy that is getting transferred will be just 10% to lion, but 90% of it is lost due to heat and respiration and other movements. Okay, so according to 10% law of energy, we know that the energy decreases when you move up the trophic levels, and that can be clearly represented in the pyramid of energy. And you have to remember that the pyramid of energy will be always an upright pyramid. And what is the ultimate source of energy? This is a very important question. The ultimate source of energy in an ecosystem is the sun. So hope you followed. It is quite easy. Okay, so try to go through the video once or twice so that you get a proper understanding of the topic. Any doubts, post it in the comment section. I'll help you.